One of the things that, when things don't work out, one of the things I've been telling myself and also thinking about a lot is, apart from the fact of learning, which we'll go into, is just that space of actually understanding that there may be a different route. See, we get so attached to having one route, one method, one way of working. We believe that there's only one pathway to where we want to be. There's this conveyor belt of things we have to do, whether it's, get a degree, find a partner, buy a house, play golf, whatever it is, like this conveyor belt of efficiency and productivity that we hear, that becomes a part of our natural progression. And when that breaks apart, that's when we start to worry, that's when we start to think. But notice that actually it's a lot better when that happens earlier in life. See, regret has some really important roles. The first one is that it helps us make sense of the world from our perspective for one of the first times. See, most of us have spent our lives learning what's important to us based on maybe what families taught, what communities taught, what parents taught, what education taught, whatever it is. When you start regretting something, when you think you did something wrong, when you start thinking that I could have done something differently, you're making sense of the world from your perspective. It's crazy how powerful this is, right? You're starting to make sense of the world from your perspective. The second thing is, it allows you to avoid future negative behavior. If you knew you regretted something, I guarantee you, write it down right now, right? If you regret something, write it down right now, because it will teach you so much in the future. And you've got to write down the lesson you learned now. Otherwise, next time when you think you're making another tough decision, you're going to say to yourself, oh, what did I do last time? How did I not make myself regret that? And then you're going to be upset. You're going to regret that you didn't write it down. So write it down right now.
As a generation, if you create a huge amount of positives, negative will become small. If you create huge amount of negatives, they will become big and positive will become small. This is all life is. There has never been a point, any time, and there never will be, where everything is perfect, okay? There's no such thing. Because life is a possibility. Because it's a possibility, it cannot be perfect. Doesn't matter what we do, there's still something more to do, always. That is why it's an endless possibility. Striving does not mean I want to be a good man, I want to be a good man. See, being morally good is only good for the society, not good for the human being. Yes? If you're morally correct, it's good for people around you because you're contained, but it's not good for this life. So this life needs a little different kind of nurture. In that context, how many people in this world are going to strive? Before you and me fall dead, in how many people will be set the seed that they will be striving to be a better life than the way they are right now? A little higher expression of life. This is all your focus should be.
Patience is for the impatient. That in fact, when you're getting started and your in-laws are making faces at you and you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay the rent and you don't know why you're living in Brooklyn to begin with and you're going to have to move back to Florida, it's easy to say, you know what, I need to go faster to pick up these scraps and pick up these scraps. And sometimes what that does is it gives you the foot up to get to the next level, but sometimes what that does is it just makes you a scrap collector. And that one of the things that we see when we look at the work of people who have put really big ideas into the world, who have built online platforms, right, is that they got there by being patiently impatient or impatiently patient, whichever way you want to juxtapose it. That if you look around at the blogs you read or the people you respect online or the organizations you want to work with, the myth of the overnight success is just that, a myth. That, the much vaunted Twitter was a failure, a complete failure for 2 years. Nobody used it. And if they took the mindset of, well, if it doesn't work in 2 weeks, we got to go do something else, you never would have heard of it.
I wanted to be an actor since the time I was about 7 years old. And it didn't make any sense because I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and my dad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse. And I don't know, I ended up telling my mom I really wanted to be an actress, and My neighbor had a flower shop, and they did a commercial down the street, and then they asked me to be in it, and that was it. I was like, I've got to do this. And as a little kid, from the time I was 7 years old, every Saturday I would go for 4 hours of acting class every Saturday.
Whoa.
And I loved it. I just loved it, to the point where all the kids graduated and went on to this other stuff, and I started doing adult acting classes, and then I was in the commercial classes, and then I loved like the hair and makeup classes and just everything. I just couldn't get enough.
So we're both workout guys. We like to go to the we like to go to the gym. All right. How many times have you seen people in the gym? They spend more time on their playlist, taking pictures, doing stuff instead of getting their workout done.
So true.
It's just like, you know. And here's the thing. All right. You're a very intense person. I can tell.
Right.
Okay. I'm a very intense person.
Yep.
All right. We value our time.
Yes.
Okay. How do you get results in the gym? It isn't about spending 2 to 3 hours working out. People say, I spent 3 hours. You didn't spend 3 hours. By the time you pulled into the parking lot, by the time you changed, got some breakfast, put your workout clothes on, talked to 8 people, did all that stuff, you were there for 3 hours. You did your 3 hours. No intensity. All right. People talk about, hey, you know, you post a couple of workout things, you're seeing you're a buff guy, or you're in great shape. All right, people say, Ed, I want to look like you. All right, they don't see what it takes to look like you. Not only in the gym, outside of the gym. The intensity that's there. You're in the gym, and I'm assuming you work out with music. You got some headphones on. You got to get a certain amount of stuff done in a certain amount of time. Or you're in this intense stuff. Somebody comes up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't want to be rude to them. So now you take your headphones off. They ask you a question. They want to take a picture with you. Oh, I recognize you from so and so. And all right. And then the question is, how do I get to look like? Well, the one way you get to look like me is leave me there for long.
Stop asking me these questions. Exactly.
And start hitting the weight. Start lifting.
Yeah.
It's the intensity that you have. It has to be in everything you do. You have to be an intense person in your workouts. The way you eat. Okay, that's intensity. How do you fuel up your metabolism rate so you're burning these calories so you can get that definition? That's intent. That's an intensity. How do you get to be successful? You know, oh man, he or she, he's so intense. No, you know what? He and she. That's how you're supposed to be. You're at a different level.
Right.
And that's why I said the intensity is so important. It's what really separates those individuals. And you can't get into that zone, and you can't get arms and abs like Ed. All right, you can't do it unless you have that intensity and you're willing to block out the distractions. We have so much access now to information.
Yep.
It's literally at our fingertips. You know, everything. Okay. Why are more individuals doing less?
You're right.
Because they're easily distracted.
I started traveling. I had been to a bunch of countries, really liked it. I lived in West Africa for 4 years and started kind of trying to figure out, okay, how many countries have I been to? How many countries in the world are there? Once I had this information, it was very difficult to do anything else, right? Because once I had this information, I was like, oh, I've been to like 50 countries. There's 193 countries. It was 192. I would like to visit 100 countries sometime in my life. I set that goal first, you know.
But so, you just said, you say, I would like to, because I would like to do a lot of things, but I'm not.
No, I want to. I feel drawn to it. I feel like this is a goal I'm going to, attach to myself. And at the time, it wasn't public. It was just like a private thing. This is before I was blogging, you know. And then as I started getting closer to that goal of 100 countries, that's when I thought, well, what's next? Because if you're only going to half the countries, then you're missing a lot of challenges, and you could just go to easy places. So that's when I had this information of like, okay, could I really do? And I was like, could I really go to every country? I don't know if I could or not. Like, this is like a huge thing. It's going to cost a lot, not just in terms of money, but also in terms of time and like sacrifice and logistics. Things could go wrong, fear. But really, what it came down to for me was not the fear of something going wrong along the way. Once I actually started thinking about this and was like, maybe I could actually do this in like 7 to 8 years if I really worked at it. What I was afraid of was not doing it. I was afraid of like, having this idea and then just passing on it. Right. And just continuing to travel a little bit. I'm that guy who travels once in a while, but what's that? And then I didn't want to get old, right? And be like, oh, once in a while, like 10 years ago, I had this idea, to do something, but I never did anything about it. That's what drove me.
The fear of being ordinary or of not?
The fear of regret, of not following up on a dream that I had, that I knew I didn't know if I could succeed. I thought I might fail, but I figured if I failed, I could deal with that, you know, but not if I just didn't do it.
Right,
so that's what drove it.
Something bad might happen to you in order to teach you a lesson to prepare you for something better later on. I know it's hard to think like that in the moment of the bad thing happening, but if you really think about it, all the negative things and the positive things that led you to where you are today got you to where you are today. And if not for those negative and positive things, you might not be here. You might not have the great job you just got, or the little girl sitting next to you, anything. Like you can't live with any regrets, you know what I'm saying? Because it's all a learning process from the beginning to where you are now to where you will be. You're learning the whole way, and you're gonna drop some stuff. You're gonna fall on your face. You're gonna break some eggs, and that's just part of what it is to be alive.